South Wales derby is the fixture that both sets of fans have been waiting for. Swansea and Cardiff City fans alike, they check the calendar. It's the first game that comes to everyone's mind. When will it be? Well, the first game of the season is here. A mixed start for both teams, I think it's fair to say. Historically, Cardiff City, certainly recent history, have not travelled well to up the motorway, up west, as you may say. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But what we do know is, from a fan's point of view, nothing matters more than 3 points on Sunday. That 90-minute period is anxiety-inducing, angering, frustrating, emotional. And it's going to be another exceptionally emotional day. But let's talk about it. I am Si. This is Cardiff City World. Let's preview Cardiff City versus Swansea at the Liberty Stadium, or whatever it's called now. And let's talk about it. We obviously would like to have got a Swansea fan on. You got no fans? No. I did try a couple, but they kind of fell through or couldn't make it. So it is what it is. I'm used to doing the previews on my own. I did them all, most of the second half of last season. So it's not an issue whatsoever. For those of you who are new, we generally will have a look at the opponents, how they play, blah, blah, blah. Who potentially is a danger man, danger area where they might trouble us, where we could look at them. Then we'll look at the Cardiff side. We'll go through what we think Errol Bullock will do, how we've been playing, etc., and try and get to some questions. Pretty shortish show. It won't be like a full hour, between sort of 30, 40 minutes. And we'll just have a good old chat. But bit of news, first of all. Cardiff City announced their 7th signing of the season today. Will Fish, viewers of this channel will have already known, but, is what it is. Absolutely over the moon with both centre-back signings this week. And anyone who watches the channel will know that I wasn't really enthusiastic about Mark McGuinness going. However, I understand, look, $6.5 million up front, got to give Arsenal 25%. And then it's very, very achievable add-ons as well, I'm led to believe. We'll take it to close to 10. Certainly if Luton go up, that's what we want. We want Luton to go up this year, and then we get a big chunk of those add-ons. But look, Mark McGuinness was a big part of Cardiff City. I think he was our best defender last season. Certainly our best ball-playing defender. Chambers has definitely strengthened that, and I think bringing Darland in is a real good signing as well. He's very good. He's fit. He's ready to go. Can play on the left side of centre-back, which is good as well. Will Fish, exceptional in the duels, exceptional on the ball. He's 21 years old, had a great football education at Manchester United. And in my opinion, a 21-year-old who has got that skill set and is as good as Will Fish is. He could also play right back if needed. 2 million is a steal, and it's 2 million. United have a chunky sell-on clause, or about 30 to 40%, I believe. There's been mixed reports regarding a buyback clause and what that looks like, whether it's a first refusal or if it's a set fee. I don't know the answer to that at the moment, but I will do some digging around and see if I can find out. But it is what it is. When you sign these young players from Premier League clubs, they're going to have things like sell-on clauses and stuff like that. It's just part and parcel of the game. At the end of the day, we've replaced 23-year-old Mark McGuinness, probably one of our better defenders, better ball-playing defenders, and we've brought in 2 good young defenders who are good ball players, good duels, good in the air, and are going to very much suit the way that Errol Bullock wants to play. It's going to be interesting how he manages it, though, because I tell you one thing, cannot see, Chambers, Darland and Fish, particularly, they haven't come down to the Championship to sit on the bench. So it'll be very, very interesting how he manages that. I know what I would do, and I mean, anyone who kind of watches the regular shows knows what I would do. I would play Darland left, Chambers right, Chambers in the middle, Fish on the right. and then I would play the young wing backs. I probably wouldn't do it this weekend. I think it's a big ask to ask those young wing backs to come into a South Wales derby. And obviously Will Fish is not match fit at the moment. So, but long term into the season, that's what I would do. I think it suits the players we've got. You can have the young wing backs on the right, whether it's Pacquiao, whether it's Conte, and then the left you can have O'Dowda, you maybe even Louis Giles, and then you can have Robertson or Rolls, or Robertson and Rolls, Siopis, two of them sitting with a Willock and a Ramsey, or a Willock and a Ruben behind a striker, and it just plays into everything nicely. But yeah, I think it's good, and I think what people have to understand is, I think, and this is only a sort of my guess from what I've seen from Errol Bullock and what he's done previously. People think, the three at the back won't work for us. It's never worked before. He's brought in players now who are going to play the way he wants to play, and he's moving out the players who won't. So, for instance, a Rolls and as a kind of ball playing six with a Robertson as your box to box sitting, and then you have almost two dual tens or inside forwards without the inverted wingers closing their space. Gives them a lot of creativity. You've got your striker, you've got the youngsters in the wide areas, but it also takes the pressure off them a little bit. To if they're like, if you put like a Pacquiao or a Conte as an out and out fullback, I really believe that'd be, it's a lot of pressure for young people. But these young guys in other clubs, they sink or swim. They put them in. Some of them excel, some of them it's not for them, and they end up moving on. But I do believe this current crop of young players that Cardiff have, it's important that we blood them. It's important that we get them going and get them playing minutes. But I guess we'll see. What else is in the news? I mean, Ethan Howberth is an interesting one. Everyone and their dog thinks that we should drop him. I think there's kind of two elements to it. So I agree. You shouldn't just drop your keeper for one mistake. You got to stick by him a little bit. Everyone makes mistakes during a game. It's just with a keeper, it results in a goal. However, saying that, I think Howberth has been a little bit shaky since he's come in. He hasn't looked the best. His distribution in particular hasn't been great. So I do, and I'm kind of like 50-50 on it, because I think my main thing with Alnwick is he's better with the ball at his feet. He's a good shot stopper, as is Howberth, when he's at it. Alnwick's better with his feet, but he's also, I think he controls the defence a bit more. The defence look more comfortable with Alnwick, I would say. But look, I believe Errol Bullock will stick with him, but we'll stick with that, and then we'll talk about that a bit later. Let's have a little look at the comments. Reese says, dreading it one line, mentally with a very weak squad. Hopefully Rose is on the bench, Robertson starts. Fuming to see Bullock say Howberth will be number one. What has Jack done wrong? I don't think it's necessarily anything that Alnwick's done wrong. I just believe that the manager wants his own guy in there. And, a lot of managers come in, there's certain positions that they want their own guy in. Centre-back, goalkeeper is usually one of those. But, I mean, he's got a decision to make with one of his guys. With Gutas, he's been very poor. Particularly, I think, if he is going to play Gutas on Sunday, he has to not play him on the left. And whether that means Chambers plays on the left or whether Darlin plays there, but he's got to put Gutas on the right-hand side of the defence if he does indeed play him. James says, fish! Reese says, 4 centre-backs in now. I can see him changing to 5-3-2, which I think is a mistake. We struggle in that formation, can't get the ball to the players forward quick enough, and we're overrunning midfield. So, I don't think it'll be a 5-3-2. I think it'll be more like a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1. And I think the reason I think that is because I think Errol Bullock likes to try and create central overloads. So what you'll have is, if he does it the way I think he will, is you'll have, say, Robertson and Siopis, and then you'll have your inside forwards or dueling tens, whatever you want to call them, in front. And then out of possession, they will become a 4. So you'll have 4 in the midfield in the central area to create an overload in the middle, to win the ball back or to use the ball. And then also the wing backs will, be slotted in alongside that to create width, but also defend in numbers. So I think I do understand what you're saying, mate, because when we've tried that 3-5-2, 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it, previously, it hasn't gone well. But ironically, it's worked quite well in the EFL Cup with the squad players. But I think what you've got to understand, mate, as well, is when you look at it, when all of our new signings are fit, I think they all start. I'm trying to think if there's any which maybe don't start. I think they all start. And, they're all going to play the bullet way. Previously, last season, a lot of those players were either loan players or players that he inherited. He's starting to get his own stamp on the squad. It's going to take time, but I do believe when it clicks this year, it's going to be good. Paul says, over the last few years, them down the road, the caravan campers have an edge in the games. They've had a little bit too much quality to get the victory, but we finished higher than them. Let's go get 3 points. Reese says Rambo, Rolls, and Ruben I think will be wasted in a 5-3-2. I agree, in a 5-3-2 I think they would. He said Rolls can't do it, he's not very mobile, no free roll for Rambo, so he'll struggle, and Ruben needs wide men to play. Let's have a look. James says, are you happy with the clubs where the loans have gone? Let me think. So Joel Colwell, I think that was a good move for him. The important thing for Joel was to go somewhere where he's going to play week in, week out. So I think that was important. Eli King, I think, has gone Stevenage. I believe, off the top of my head. I think, look, that's not the worst loan. Okay, like I don't think it's that. I would have liked to have seen Eli King maybe go. I don't know. I think it's a decent enough move. I think the main thing is he gets game time. From what Errol Bullitt said, he doesn't think he's too far off. That it's more he needs to kick on in certain attributes and aspects of his game. Which look, at the end of the day, I understand people's frustration with it. I understand people saying, why are we keeping Rinamoto and then sending Eli King out on loan? I do get that. Like, but if Eli's just going to sit on the bench and be a backup to say Siopis, it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's like, is he just going to waste time being sat on the bench? Is it better for him to go and play now? Should he have been given an opportunity to play for Cardiff? That's another conversation. I personally think that we'll bring in another central midfielder before the window's closed. So, again, I can see why they sent Eli King on. The Kieran Evans one is a weird one because Bullitt seems to really like him, but he never seemed to get an opportunity in the first team last year, this year. And he's gone out and on. I think has Kieran gone to Newport? I might be wrong there, but just going off the top of my head, I think that was where he went. So that's a good. If I'm right and he's gone to Newport, that's a good move. Just going to double check that actually. But yeah, I think that's a good move, to be honest with you. Yeah, he's gone to Newport. I think that's a good move for him. Should get plenty of game time, and he's got to kick on and show. Like if Kieran Evans can go to Newport, play a lot of games, get assists, goals, perform, I think you can really then start to have a conversation about him having game time in the first team. It's a big test for him, but he's got to go and show it and show what he can do. I think it's quite a big move for him, that one, because I think if he does well, then he's got there's a real conversation to be had about him because he's clearly got talent and Errol Bullitt clearly likes him. So it's interesting. Now, again, would I loan these players out? All of them? There's some I would keep, there's some I would loan. So far, those ones that we've just discussed, I think I generally agree with. Eli King is maybe the questionable one. Would I have rathered him over Rinamoto as a squad player? Probably, but as a young player, he probably needs to play games, whereas Rinamoto, he can be a squad player without damaging his development, if that makes sense. Joel Colwell, I think he's 12 months off being a first teamer, so realistically, he needed to play. I'll be interested to see what we do with Raheem Conte, because I think it'd be crazy to let Raheem Conte go on loan, because he's so versatile and so composed. I actually believe he should be starting, particularly if we go to that system. I think he should be starting, and then obviously if we stick with the 4, then maybe he's a good squad option off the bench, because basically if you have Conte on the bench, you can play one centre-back, Conte, and then the rest of your substitute options can be sort of midfield and attackers, and it just opens up so much more creativity off the bench for certain situations. Whereas if you've got to kind of have a centre-back and a full-back, and you end up with like 2-3 defenders on the bench, which you don't really need. So for me, I would keep Conte in the squad. I thought he did very well last year. I thought he's done well in pre-season. And I think his composure and reading of the game makes him particularly stand out. Pacquiao is a very, very special talent. 17 years old. He's obviously young. But I know Errol Bullett's a massive fan. He's going to go on and be a real good modern-day fullback. It's just whether he's going to get game time this year. I think he should do, but whether he will is another thing. Probably depend on when or if Perry NG leaves. Let's have a look. Reese says, I'm not saying drop him for that one mistake, but my God, he's been awful for some time. Defence don't look confident with him behind them. Distribution's poor, always beaten far too easy. So I don't disagree with anything you just said there, mate, at all. However, what I would say, he's also kept us in some games with some superb saves. You know, that Sunderland game, the one-on-one, you know, that could have been a game changer if we hadn't switched off at the end. So I do get it. I think you're harsh with his shot stopping, although I thought he should have done a lot better against Burnley. That one where he dives to the right, he's got to keep that out. Obviously, you have the Howler as well. I agree with you, mate. I would go with Alnwick, and I don't think there's any reason why he should have been dropped for Runnison and then Halworth. But Errol Bullett's got obviously wants his man in there. There's something within there. And I'm sure Jack Alnwick's confused by it. Danny Jones says Swansea will do the double this season. I think if you don't turn up, we'll put 5 past you. I'd be shocked if Swansea turned us over to that much. I would, mate. I'm not just saying that. I would be surprised if you turn us over in a big way like that. I wouldn't be surprised if you win, because I think we're still finding our feet. We haven't got all our signings and outfits and stuff like this, and so we're kind of edging into the season. So I think it's a good time to play Cardiff at the moment. But on the other hand, from a Cardiff point of view, after the way they played in the second half versus Burnley, certainly how they defended against Burnley and Sunderland, those players they owe the fans a performance. And if you're going to see a reaction, I believe this is the game to kickstart your season. It's going to be a fascinating watch from that sort of tactical side of it, and watching the players' body language and effort levels and how he sets up. And it's going to be really interesting, because I think Swansea is still finding their feet a little bit. Obviously had a good result the other day. Made some good signings in the summer, so we'll talk about them in just a second. Last couple of comments. Reece says, in that 3-4-2-1 formation, though, that's wing backs. Would you play El Ghazi as a wing back? Because if he plays in one of those 10s, that means the other slot is taken by either Rambo or Woodward. Yeah, I would play El Ghazi in one of those 10 slots. We've got to have options, mate. We know Ramsey's not going to be fit all the time. Ruben, I guess, is a bit hit and miss. Willock on his day is great, but he's if you look historically at his career, he's been a bit hit and miss, in and out throughout season. So you've got to have options. Interesting to hear that Errol Bullet saying that he thinks El Ghazi could play through the middle as well as a 9. That was quite interesting, because it was something I hadn't really thought about. So look, Paul says, problem with Halworth, didn't play much pre-season, coming in late. I'd rather Alnwick. He looked good pre-season. I mean, Alnwick hasn't done anything wrong, let's be honest. Gareth says, striker and a midfielder before the deadline, you reckon, Si? I do. I think we'll bring in another striker, and I think we'll look to bring in a midfielder before. I think we've got 3 loan slots left. I wouldn't be surprised if we sign a striker in a similar profile to Kanga, like your sort of mobile target man. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we bring in like a young forward who can play wide and through the middle on loan, maybe even a short-term loan to sort of January time, as basically as cover to Isaac Davis. And then a midfielder, I think, will probably, when Wintle goes out, they might try and get someone in. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the midfielder is a loan, because you've got Joel Colwell coming back next year. So, yeah, and we've signed a fair few players on permanent deals as well. So that's something I think could happen. Tell you one player who I was talking to someone about today who I think would be the almost perfect signing for us at the moment from a midfield point of view is Hannibal from Manchester United. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's been heavily linked with Burnley this week. However, Burnley have to sell sort of a few players before they can sign. If we could swoop in and get him, excellent on the ball, assists, scores, super aggressive, got a nice bit of shithousery around him, works really hard, and also can play 6, 8, 10 and wide. Very versatile. I think he'd be a great signing. Probably a little bit out of our reach, but if we have got a bit of money to spend because of the McGuinness one and potentially any deal for Perry NG, I think he would be an absolute spot-on signing for the way that Bullet plays and for what we need in terms of the midfield. We want energy and legs and aggression, but also technically good. But I don't know how realistic it is. But if we could steal a march on Burnley before they, because they will, they've got a squad of 35, I think it's down to now, because they sold a couple. So they've got to sell a few before they can get a bid in for him. Let's use some of that money. That's what I say. But, Reece says, my frustration is after poor performances, big losses, example to Swansea last year, 2 days later, the club posts back at it, pitches in training, everyone happy, laughing. It's disrespectful, to be honest. Yeah, mate, I do think that people need to, like social media and stuff, you've got to be more aware, haven't you? Especially, like, I think the club, the social media, they have to be aware of what it means to the fans and stuff, and you can't just post stuff like that. Reece says, did I read correct? Bullet said the club will not spend a penny on bringing a striker into a club, which seems about right. We've needed a striker for years and we've struggled to still change. Why now? Why change now? So the striker thing's interesting, isn't it? Because, like, realistically, to get a proven championship striker who scored goals, it's going to cost money. But we'll spend money on Robertson, which rightly so. We'll spend money on Fish. But why won't we spend money on a striker? It's weird. We seem to go like we're gambling on a Kanga or similar options. Like I said right at the start of the window when we made I believe an inquiry about Al Hamidi from Ipswich. I thought that was a great option. They've obviously, I think, in the process or have signed Brozier from Chelsea as well. So I think he'd be a great option. But here we go. It is what it is. It's all. I don't think you can believe anything a manager says to a certain degree in press conferences and stuff like that, because they are playing the game a little bit. Sometimes they might be putting pressure on the board. Sometimes they might be trying to not let the cat out of the bag. It's a bit of a game of cat and mouse in these press conferences. So it is what it is, sort of thing. God, we got to get to the preview, man. Lots of comments. Gareth says, is Perry NG staying? Do you know? Lewis says, do you think Perry NG will play on Sunday? Look, at the moment, Perry NG is a Cardiff City player. And while he's a Cardiff City player, we should all get behind him. That's all I'll say on that. Right, let's look at these boys, this lot from down the road. Swansea City, Swansea Town. Although I got a couple of messages when I put the audio, the podcast image for this episode has got the Swansea Town badge on it, and a couple of my mates who are Jacks messaged me when I put that up earlier on socials. They weren't happy, shall we say? But look, bit of fun. Look, Swansea had a very good result recently. They beat Preston 3-1 good result, good performance at home. They've won both their home games, scored 3 goals in both. Obviously, Gillingham being the slightly weaker opponents, but Preston, proven championship club, 3-0 at their stadium is a good result. Lost 1-0 to Middlesbrough on the opening day. I watched a bit of the Middlesbrough game and they didn't look fantastic. The Jacks didn't. But obviously it's the first game of the season. I think they've made some really astute signings. Franco and Ronald and people like these are real good players. And they seem to have a bit of a mix of young and experienced. People who have regularly watched my channel know I think I'm quite not a fan, but I think Cabango is a real good centre-back. Harry Darling, not so much a fan of. But they play Swansea play like a 4-1-4-1. We know they like to get legs and people in the central areas in the midfield. They like to try and move the ball quickly. They press and they'll be aggressive. Against Cardiff, they will be aggressive. They will press high. They will try and win the ball as quick as possible back. They will try to impose themselves on Cardiff City. So what Cardiff will need to do is, first and foremost, when they have the ball, they need to keep it well, which we tend to do pretty well. We need to make sure we cut out mistakes at the back. But also we need to move the ball quickly in the right areas. So when you get into their half, the final third, we've got to move the ball quickly, get those interchanges going. Now, we've had some glimpses this season. First half, Burnley. First 20 minutes, Sunderland. Second half against Bristol. It's time for the glimpses to stop. We have to put a performance in on Saturday. It starts with concentration and work rate. We cut out the mistakes that have predominantly been at the back, but we also have to take our chances when we get them. In terms of Swansea's lineup, I think they'll go similar to how they set up, although they set up 4-1-4-1 against Borough, but against Preston, they went more of a 4-2-3-1. So I think they will anticipate that Errol Bullock will play a 4-2-3-1. So I could see them matching that up. I think they'll go with something pretty similar to what they played against Preston. I could potentially see the one change at fullback, but I don't think. No, I think it'll be the same lineup. So it'll be Vigouroux in goal, who I think has got a mistake in him if you target him. And I think if Kanga plays, I would like to see from set pieces, I'd like to see Kanga right around that keeper, putting him under pressure. I think they'll probably go with Timon, Darling, Cabango and Key. Maybe Kyle Norton for the experience, but I think that it'll go with the same back four. And then you've got Grimes, Ronald, Franco, Cooper, Ji-sung, and probably Cullen. They will be up for it. What we have to do is we have to make sure that we are up for it. The players owe the fans a big performance. I'll address that Winslow thing now in a minute, mate. Just give me a second. So, yeah, Swansea will be up for it. Cardiff City have to make sure they are up for it. They need to make sure they cut out these stupid mistakes, because I think if we cut out the mistakes, you look at the Burnley game, 4 of those goals came from errors and could have very easily been stopped. Both of Sunderland goals should have been stopped. If we cut out the errors, the results and the performances look very, very different. Even, Burnley fans messaging me constantly this week saying, wow, you're really good. It was never a 5-0 game. We just punished you for mistakes. So for me, the danger man for Swansea will be Franco. You're a real good player. But I tell you, it was a close one because I could have picked him. I could have also picked Ronald. I think Ronald's he was a real clever signing. Both of them are great signings. And I think they'll both do really, really well for them. But I've gone for Franco. Plays, through the middle, in that middle of midfield, looks after the ball, picks up a few goals. Technically very good, but the bits I've seen of Swansea and him very much controls how they play. A lot of it goes through him. And you know, that's going to be on Siopis to get close to him and not allow him the time to get his head up and move the ball. But of course, you know, you've got the likes of Grimes and Darlin, Cabango, Cullen. They're going to be bang up for it. And it is going to be an interesting thing how Cardiff's set up. We will talk about Cardiff in just a second. Reese says, I also surprised to see him say Wintle can leave on a free. Heard him, we turned down an offer a while back, which is why we rushed to give him a 3-year deal. Now he's available on free. I always liked him. Look, Reese, I don't want to talk about off the field stuff and whatnot, especially in the run up to a game. What I will say is there is a reason why Ryan Wintle, the second that Errol Bullock had a contract, was basically told, no thanks. There's a reason. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they should shake hands, part ways, best of luck. I always felt like, even without that stuff, like the off-the-field stuff, I always felt like he was the odd one out because Rawls had signed a new contract, club captain. Siopis had just come in and his Bullets guy. Then you had Turnbull had only come in January, so it felt like Wintle was the one that was going to go anyway. And then, you know, some issues last season meant that when Errol Bullock was assured of his own future, he made a decision that he was to move him along. So that shall be it. I think Siopis has got a big role to play on Sunday to try and allow the other players to play, but he's got to keep Franco quiet. And Franco likes to tackle, but he dictates the play as well. And I think that's why Siopis is going to be important. I know a lot of people believe that Joe Rawls should be dropped and this, that, and the other. I think he's touch and go fitness wise anyway, but he is one who gets the South Wales derby. And whilst I personally believe long term, particularly like Robertson's going to be the starting 8 because he's a very, very good player. I think I wouldn't have been surprised if Rawls was fit to see Rawls start in this game because he knows what it's about, and you know, he won't be one to sort of not put the effort in, not put the work in. So I could have seen him starting. I don't think he's going to be fit to start though, and I'm excited to see Robertson because he's got it all. He's got the work, the aggression, the ball playing, the assists. I'm really excited to see him play alongside Siopis. But let's talk about Cardiff. Results-wise, it's been a poor start to the season, but there has been glimpses. I firmly believe, and this is just an opinion, that it will all come together. If we win on Sunday, by the way, we will have one more point than we had at the same stage last year. So, look, we didn't start. It's weird, isn't it? Like, there's this perception that the first part of the season last year was the best part of the season, but we actually, points-wise, started slowly. When it all comes together, I'm confident that it will come together nicely, and I think, you know, we will really start to see bullet ball take effect. But in terms of the lineup, with these preview shows, what I tend to do is I try to guess what Errol Bullock's going to do rather than what I would do, because, you know, at the end of the day, what's it matter what I would do? So I don't think he will change the system for this game. I don't think so. But then, like, equally, I wouldn't be, like, super shocked with it either. It's a weird thing. But I think, well, let's say he sticks with the same system. So I think Howard will retain his place. I think Callum O'Dowd most likely starts at left back. If O'Dowd has got any doubts of fitness, because I know he did pick up a knock in the Burnley game, you might see Joel Bagan in there, but I would be very surprised. I think Callum O'Dowd is fit and going to start. I think centre-back wise, I think he should go with Darland and Chambers, but I think he'll stick with Gutas because Darland's only been here a week. I really believe that he shouldn't, or if he does, I think he's got to play Chambers on the left side of the defence. One thing I do not want to see on Sunday when we kick off is I do not want to see Dimi Gutas lining up as the left-sided centre-back. Because if I'm Swansea City and I look at the team sheet and I see Helveth on there and I see Gutas on there, they're the first things I'm targeting. So I think it would be a mistake to play him on the left side of the central defence. I think long term, Darland will be in there, but I don't know whether he'll chuck Darland in first game as South Wales Derby. He may do, though. You could maybe even see Gutas on the right-hand side, Darland on the left, Chambers at right back. It all depends on what's going on with Perry NG. Midfield-wise, I think it'll be Siopis and Robertson. And then I think it'll be Willock. I think it'll be Ramsey. The right-hand side, I think, is open. Does he go with Tanner? Does he go with Colwell? Does he go with Robinson? Does he go with Mate? He does tend to like Mate in these types of games. Personally, I wouldn't. If I was making the decision based on the rest of the team that he's already picked, I'm probably going to go with. I'd probably go with Robinson off the left and move Willock over to the right. I think maybe Tanner. I don't think I'd play Ruben off the right in this game, unless Ramsey's not quite fully fit, and then Ruben goes in the 10. You could maybe change it, but it's going to be, and that's what I mean. It's a bit difficult to predict what he's going to do this time around. Kanga, I think, plays up top, and hopefully he can start getting moving, scoring some goals. It amazes me, guys, that people think that Siopis should be dropped. I just think what he needs to do is just focus on being the defensive midfielder, and sometimes I think he's trying to cover for other people too much, which is why I think having the legs of Robertson in there, like Robertson, I think is going to make a massive difference to how Cardiff City play. I said at the end of last season, I felt that the number 8 was the most important position that we needed to improve, along with the striker. We've brought in someone who's got the quality and the youth and the ability and the work rate, so, and also the ball playing ability. So hopefully that will happen. I think there'll be games. So who was it? It just said so. Marty says Siopis should be dropped. He's a headless chicken. I do disagree with that, but I can see why some people think of him like that. But he sweeps up and does so much defensive work for other people. I just think sometimes he needs to hold his position a little bit and still be that person. I think it would be a mistake to drop him in this game, because then Franco will run riot. We need that battler, that person who's going to break up play and destroy. We need that person in there, and he just needs to sit in front of the defence and do that. Stop him playing, get the ball, give it to Robertson, give it to other players, not try and be the ball player himself. I think in some games this season, when we play, real ball playing teams who are maybe a bit less physical, we might see Joe Rolls in the 6 as a kind of Steve McPhail type role. Certain games. Darland is fit and ready. He's played a couple of games this season already. So I wonder whether he might I know Chambers has said that he wants to play centre back, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind for one game out on the right. Holton's side would be Alnwick in goal, NG Chambers, Darland, 3 centre backs. Then he said he'd play Conte, Siopis, Robertson, O'Dowda as the midfield, with Willock and Ramsey behind Kanga. As far as I'm aware, Raheem Conte hasn't gone on loan mate yet. I don't think he has. I know that he said he's probably going to go. Let's see it. Let's have a look. Reese says, still calling it. Don't be surprised to see Turnbull go. If not this window, then the January window, he'll be gone, loan or sale, but he'll definitely be gone. Zach says, madness, Siopis' class. Get Darland straight in. Yeah, I do understand why people focus on Siopis, like running around and whatnot. Like, I do get it. I get the people thinking it. But, so for instance, like Marty said there, Siopis not strong enough. He was brushed off with disdain for the 4th goal at Burnley and dribbled around with contempt for the 5th. But the ball was given away before it gets to that point. So because the ball was given away, he's out of position, which makes it more difficult. Now, could he have done better? Absolutely, of course he could have. And there's a long way between that and the goal. Like Zach has just said, he's our Kante. And yeah, I agree with it. I just think, but I do think he doesn't help himself sometimes because he tries to be everywhere. What made the likes of Makelele and Kante and all these quality defensive midfielders so quality is they sat and they just marshaled across the pitch almost in front of the defence. You know, if the fullback goes up and the ball breaks down, he covers the fullback and then he goes back into the middle and he holds his position and then just, wins the ball and then gives it to the ball playing players. I think he needs to simplify his game a little bit. Reese says, push O'Dowda forward onto the left wing, play Darlin left back. O'Dowda's natural winger, pacey, direct, whip balls into Kanga. Inverted inside forwards are useless with the target. Yeah, no, mate, I 100% agree on the inverted wingers. I've been saying that for ages, that we should be playing with out-and-out wingers. Play a left-sided player on a left and a right-sided player on the right. I wouldn't even be against playing Tanner on the left and move Willock over to the right. I'm not sure about Joel Bagan in a game this big, and I have no idea whether Darland would be good at left back. For me, the big thing is we just got to get we got to get Gutas onto the right and back onto the right hand side of the centre back pairing if he's not going to drop him because he cannot play on the left. Martin says Makelele was quick, incredibly quick. No, I agree, but he was disciplined in his positioning, and same as Kante and these others. They sit and they let the other players do the ball playing, and they just focus on winning the ball back and being being that destroyer with cutting out play and stuff like that. I think El Ghazi will get 20-30 minutes off the bench. It'll be interesting. We should have quite a strong bench on the weekend. Bit gutted that Will Fish is not available, but it is what it is. He's a young man. He'll be fit soon enough. I just want to see Cardiff City. I just need I need those players, first and foremost, to concentrate, work hard, get stuck in. And if we lose, we lose, but we lose almost going out on our shield and battling and fucking getting stuck in, and Swansea come off the pitch feeling like it was a war, not like it's been just an easy game for them. There was a point in the away game last year where they brought the ball out of defence from their keeper and they just basically walked it up the pitch, and we did not press them until they were 30 yards out from our goal. That cannot happen. Now, our pressing has been one of the positives so far this season. It's been much better. Much better. He is the press, the shape and everything in and out of possession looks a lot better. Zach says, I think we'll shock them. I've got a feeling that we might catch them because I think they're going to be overconfident because all the doom and gloom because of the results. I think they will almost underestimate us and think that it's going to be easy walkover, especially because of the away game last year, the history of us going away. And I just wonder whether we might just catch them cold. I know, look, I was speaking to someone this week about Kanga, and they said once he gets a goal, he'll go on a bit of a spree. They quite fancy him. He's quick, he's strong, bit of a confidence player, but once he's fit and he's up to speed, he could be the one. So let's hope that starts on Sunday. In terms of my player to watch for Cardiff City, I'm going to go with Alex Robertson. I expect him to make his full debut. I expect him, if he is able to give a performance to the level that he's capable of, and he's able to really play at the level that he's capable of, I think people will be shocked at how good he is. He is an exceptional footballer. But it's not just him. Everyone's got to be at it. Everyone has got to be at it. We have got overrun in midfield for so long in these games, in the South Wales derby, where Swansea just seem to have more legs, more athleticism, more agility, more work. So I think it's vital that if our midfield three is Siopis, Robertson and Ramsey, that they work and they work and they work. Ramsey was vital in the home victory versus the Jacks last year. He hasn't started the season particularly well, so this is the game for him to turn up and show us that he's at it. We all know the qualities that he possesses, so it's about getting him involved in the right way, in the right points of the game, the right part of the pitch, and then when he gets the ball in those little pockets of space, Willock, Kanga, whoever plays on the right, there has to be movement off the ball. Robertson supporting from deeper. We have to get this movement off the ball to allow us to create opportunities. We are creating more opportunities. We are having more shots, but we got to make them count. Yeah, I agree with that, Martin, 100%. And this is something which I've been saying a lot recently, and me and Paula Band and I will talk about it a lot, is Cardiff have got a very old squad, and particularly in the midfield area. If they do play Rolls and Ramsey and Siopis, it's a very, very old midfield, and it's just going to get overrun in the majority of games. Robertson being in there is a big, big part of that. And it's also why, if Ramsey is not 100% fit, then I would play Ruben Colwell in there for the physicality and the quickness, the athleticism, etc. It's going to be brutal. I just wish that I hope that I posed a question to Gavin Ray. Interviews out tomorrow night, by the way, and it's a real interesting conversation about a variety of subjects, including Alex Robertson, among other things, and South Wales derbies, of course. And I asked him, do players know? Do they feel what the fans feel and how important these games are? And he said he could only speak for his era, and they did. And if you kind of go back to that era, they definitely did. Flipping Steve McPhail got sent off twice in one season in South Wales derbies. I think that it's vital now. We've got to, certainly by the end of the season, we're going to have a very, very new look squad, new look team by the end of the window, maybe even, but certainly when everyone's fit, we've got a very new look team, and we have to make that count. It's time that we just change what we're doing slightly, and these games it's a massive thing. Let's kickstart the season. If Cardiff put in a performance on Sunday, then our season starts here. And I believe that we are starting to build a squad that is capable of really, really competing in this league. Unfortunately, we can't get them all in on Sunday, and that's a shame. But it is what it is. But they're starting to get there. I expect Robertson to start. El Ghazi on the bench. El Ghazi winner, 90th minute. Let the limbs be thrown. So, my guys, I will give you about 60 seconds to get your game predictions, result predictions in, and we'll chuck them up on the screen. Do I think Cardiff City can get a result on Sunday? I absolutely believe that Cardiff City can win on Saturday. I actually think that the way Errol Bullett's sides play at their best can be quite suited to nullifying Swansea's threats. I apologise, girls too. I just meant guys, figuratively. But Louise, of course, girls, boys, everyone's welcome. I believe that the Bullet train is going to kick off in the next month, 2 months, and when it clicks, it's going to be absolutely fucking glorious. I strongly believe that. But I just think my only worry with Bullet is that he reverts to type and goes with his favourites or the people he trusts. I want to see him pick more on form, but I also want to see him acknowledge in certain games you need different tools. I mentioned earlier, sometimes I can see Joe Rolls playing in a 6. Tools for the job. Now on Saturday, we need legs in midfield, we need work rate, we need aggression, we need width. And when we get your Ramseys, your Colwells, your Robertsons on the ball, they have to have options to play. If Cardiff City can keep a clean sheet on Saturday, or certainly if Cardiff City can cut out the mistakes on Saturday, then I believe that we'll win. It's got to get rid of these mistakes. I think, do you know who I think is going to have a big performance on Sunday? Sorry, it's not Saturday. Who I believe will have a big performance Sunday is Howworth. Ethan Howworth is an experienced goalkeeper. He knows he was shocking against Burnley. And I think us as fans need to get behind him, whether we agree or not, and whether we think Alnwick should be playing. Let's get behind him, because I believe, as an experienced international keeper, he would have been hurt by that, and he will be keen to put in a big, big performance. And if he has a big performance and we cut out the mistakes at the back, we're going to start to cook. And a result on Sunday kickstarts the season, and the whole atmosphere and everything changes. Right then, let's have a look at your predictions. What does mine say there? This season we've huffed and puffed, but we haven't really hurt either side. The only clear chance we have created was Mate at Burnley. Our play is pedestrian. I think our play has been. I think you could see we're moving the ball quicker than last year. I just think it's a case of we're waiting for these players to come in. But I think we've seen glimpses of what it's going to be. But glimpses are not enough. You need it over 90 minutes. I understand people's frustration. And it's weird because I'm generally the most pessimistic and negative person going. But I really believe that Errol Bullett's the right man. And I believe he's cooking something special. So, Zach, 3-1. Cardiff. George, 0-0. Louise, 2-1 Cardiff. Holton, 3-0 loss. Oh, Jesus Christ, mate. Reese says, Hart says 3-1 Cardiff. Jacks will score a late consolation goal. Head says 3-0 Swansea, they'll walk it. I don't see them running away with it unless we make a shitload of mistakes again. Because mistakes aside, we haven't been that bad. 1-1. And that's blind faith from mine. Paul says Chambers is an organizer and a captain. 3-1 Kanga's first goal. There we go. Positivity. Zach says 3-1 Cardiff all day. Jeff says, I think Bullet will revert to type and pick the same old. And if Rolls is still carrying a knock, he'll start reading Moto. Good God. Just sent a shiver down my spine. I would be amazed, mate, if Robertson doesn't start if Rolls is out. I would honestly be amazed. And I'd be very disappointed because realistically, we're probably going to move Rio and Motor out and bring another midfielder in, I think. Jeff says 0-0. And finally, I think that's all we've got time for. But, guys, I appreciate you massively. My prediction for the game is Cardiff City 1, Swansea City 0. The mistakes will be gone. Darland, Chambers, etc. will keep a clean sheet. Howworth will be man of the match. And Kanga will score the winner. Or maybe even Al Ghazi. Or a couple more. But Valley Dog 2-1 the diff. Go on, the boys. At the end of the day, all I want to see from Cardiff is commitment, work rate, and a bit of flipping aggression. Let's hope that it's not another painful evening. Tomorrow night, Gavin Ray interview. Really, really good stuff. Then we got a watch along for the game with the Flower Hour boys on Sunday afternoon at 3:00. Sunday evening will be my match reaction. And then Monday night will be the breakdown where we break the game down in much more detail. Guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you very much to the 150 plus people who've been watching on Twitter and YouTube. Appreciate you all. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you give everything a follow, all that good stuff. Get involved in the conversation. And if you'd like to become a member and support everything we do with Ace Podcast Nation, City Legend events, and of course Cardiff City World, then patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation is the place to be. Appreciate you all. Take care. Come on, City!